The United States Department of War, what's with the change? Is history repeating itself? Like, please comment and follow for more. The Department of War. The historical significance. The United States Department of War, also called the War Department and occasionally War Office in the early years, a historical record may provide logic behind the sudden change. The United States Department of War was the United States Cabinet Department originally responsible for the operation and maintenance of the United States Army, also bearing responsibility for naval affairs until the establishment of the Navy Department in 1798, and for most land-based air forces until the creation of the Department of the Air Force on September 18, 1947. The Secretary of War, a civilian with such responsibilities as finance and purchases and a minor role in directing military affairs, headed the War Department throughout its existence. The United States Secretary of Defense, SecDef, secondarily titled the Secretary of War, is the head of the United States Department of Defense, DoD, the executive department of the U.S. Armed Forces, and is a high-ranking member of the Cabinet of the United States. The War Department existed for 158 years, from August 7, 1789 to September 18, 1947, when, under the National Security Act of 1947, it split into the Department of the Army and the Department of the Air Force, which together with the Department of the Navy formed the National Military Establishment. In 1949, the National Military Establishment was renamed the Department of Defense.
Army.
The United States Army, USA, is the primary land service branch of the United States Department of Defense. It is designated as the Army of the United States in the United States Constitution.
Army.
The Army is the most senior branch in order of precedence amongst the armed services. It has its roots in the Continental Army, formed on 14th of June 1775 to fight against the British for independence during the American Revolutionary War, 1775-1783. After the Revolutionary War, the Congress of the Confederation created the United States Army on 3rd June 1784 to replace the disbanded Continental Army. The United States Navy, USN, is the maritime service branch of the United States Armed Forces. It is the world's most powerful navy with the largest displacement, at 4.5 million tons in 2021.
Navy.
The United States Navy traces its origins to the Continental Navy, which was established during the American Revolutionary War and was effectively disbanded as a separate entity shortly thereafter, after suffering significant loss of goods and personnel at the hands of the Barbary pirates from Algiers.
Navy.
The United States Congress passed the Naval Act of 1794 for the construction of 6 heavy frigates, the first ships of the Navy. The United States Navy played a major role in the American Civil War by blockading the Confederacy and seizing control of its rivers. It played the central role in the World War II defeat of Imperial Japan. The United States Navy emerged from World War II as the most powerful navy in the world.
Marines.
The United States Marine Corps, USMC, also referred to as the United States Marines or simply the Marines, is the Maritime Land Force Service branch of the United States Department of Defense. It is responsible for conducting expeditionary and amphibious operations through combined arms, implementing its own infantry, artillery, aerial, and special operations forces. The U.S. Marine Corps is one of the 6 armed forces of the United States and one of the 8 uniformed services of the United States. The Marine Corps has been part of the United States Department of the Navy since 30th of June 1834, with its sister service, the United States Navy.
Navy.
The United States Navy is part of the Department of the Navy, alongside the United States Marine Corps, which is its co-equal sister service. The Department of the Navy is headed by the Civilian Secretary of the Navy. The Department of the Navy is itself a military department of the Department of Defense, which is headed by the Secretary of Defense. The Chief of Naval Operations, CNO, is the most senior Navy officer serving in the Department of the Navy.
Air Force.
The United States Air Force, USAF, is the air service branch of the United States Department of Defense. It is one of the 6 United States Armed Forces and one of the 8 uniformed services of the United States. Tracing its origins to 1st August 1907 as a part of the United States Army Signal Corps,
Air Force.
the USAF was established by transfer of personnel from the Army Air Forces with the enactment of the National Security Act of 1947. It is the 2nd youngest branch of the United States Armed Forces and the 4th in order of precedence. The United States Air Force articulates its core missions as air supremacy, global integrated intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, rapid global mobility, global strike and command and control.
Air Force.
In general, the United States Air Force shall include aviation forces, both combat and service, not otherwise assigned. It shall be organized, trained, and equipped primarily for prompt and sustained offensive and defensive air operations. The Air Force shall be responsible for the preparation of the air forces necessary for the effective prosecution of war, except as otherwise assigned, and in accordance with integrated joint mobilization plans, for the expansion of the peacetime components of the Air Force to meet the needs of war.
Air Force.
The origins of the United States Air Force can be traced back to the Union Army Balloon Corps of the American Civil War. The Union Balloon Corps, established by Aeronaut Thaddeus S. C. Lowe, provided aerial reconnaissance for the Union Army. This early use of balloons for military purposes marked the beginning of modern aerial warfare and set the stage for the development of the United States Air Force.
Space Force.
The United States Space Force, USSF, is the 6th and newest branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, established in 2019. Its primary mission is to protect U.S. and allied interests in space, deter aggression in, from, and to space, and conduct space operations. The USSF is organized under the Department of the Air Force, similar to how the Marine Corps is under the Department of the Navy.
Air Force.
Global Integrated Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance, ISR, is the synchronization and integration of the planning and operation of sensors, assets and processing, exploitation, dissemination systems across the globe to conduct current and future operations.
Coast Guard.
The United States Coast Guard, USCG, is the Maritime Security, Search and Rescue, and Law Enforcement Service branch of the United States Armed Forces. It is one of the country's 8 uniformed services. The service is a maritime, military, multi-mission service unique among the United States military branches for having a maritime law enforcement mission with jurisdiction in both domestic and international waters, and a federal regulatory agency mission as part of its duties. It is the largest Coast Guard in the world, rivaling the capabilities and size of most navies.
Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard traced its roots to the small fleet of vessels maintained by the United States Department of the Treasury, beginning in the 1790s to enforce tariffs, an important source of revenue for the new nation. Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton lobbied Congress to fund the construction of 10 cutters, which it did on 4th August 1790, now celebrated as the Coast Guard's official birthday. Until the re-establishment of the Navy in 1798, these revenue cutters were the only naval force of the early United States. As such, the cutters and their crews frequently took on additional duties, including combating piracy, rescuing mariners in distress, ferrying government officials, and even carrying mail. Could there be a more sinister plot?
Election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances, and a little bit we need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe how to say, we need a truth, yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody No more elections. Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
You like
news
this
is.
idea?
Comment what you liked about this edification and follow for more. Trust Raw Facts.
Department of War.